Hi guys, James back with another video, and I decided, since the first two of these were the two most viewed videos I have for some reason, I actually managed to find enough movies to put on for a third list of this. And if you clicked on it, you know this is the top 10 erotic thrillers slash dramas part 3. So, if you've watched the first two, then you know what this list is about. So without further ado, we'll start with number 10. Number 10 is a film from 1991, written and directed by David Taussig, and it's commonly known as, I suppose, in maybe the US or most of North America, as Killer Instinct. I watched this on VHS, and it was called Homicidal Impulse. I ended up picking up this one used at it was a place in St. Thomas, either book bin or something like that. And back when I used to trade in a bunch of VHSs all the time. And this one stars Scott Valentine and Vanessa Angel, and it's one of these erotic thriller, murder mystery kind of thing. And sort of deals with lawyers and murder, and lawyers getting involved with each other, and one of them may be a killer, maybe not. Anyway, what drew me to this film was obviously Vanessa Angel, because she's hot, and two, I was a fan of Family Ties, so I'm a fan of Scott Valentine, who played Nick on there. Not so much a fan of the one-off pilot he did, The Art of Being Nick. That was a spin-off of that, but besides the point, he's still a good actor. And this was a decent little, a good little sexy murder thriller. Anyway, so that's Homicidal Impulse, also known as Killer Instinct. Okay. Number 9, we have a film from 1995 called Hourglass. And this is a film starring primarily C. Thomas Howell and Sophia Shyness. If you don't recognize the name Sophia Shyness, she hasn't acted hardly at all. But she'd be most well known for playing the role of Shelley in the original film The Crow. Now, I can't remember whether or not she scaled back on her acting because of Brandon Lee's death or not, or she just did other stuff. I know there's stuff on her IMDb page, trivia about that, but she probably just had other stuff in her life anyway. Anyway, so this one is involved in the, let me see, I think it's in the fashion industry. You get C. Thomas Howell plays a business executive, and Sophia Shyness is sort of like the femme fatale comes in who's going to try and screw up his life and take over the business and stuff like that. And of course they get involved and have sex and stuff. But it was another one that was a good little suspense thriller with an actor I really like and a beautiful actress who's also a good actress, Sophia Shyness. So that is Hourglass. Pretty sure it's only known by the name of Hourglass. Alright, number 8. Number 8, we have another film starring Scott Valentine. This is from 1992, and it is called To Sleep with a Vampire. And this one stars Charlie Spradling. Now, I don't recall seeing her in anything else besides this. And Scott Valentine, the aforementioned star of Homicidal Impulse, and was on Family Ties. Well, in this one, Charlie Spradling, she plays Nina. Scott Valentine plays Jacob. She's an exotic dancer, he's a vampire, and he eventually is stalking her as prey, but then meets her, gets to know her, and then they're trying to figure out how to cope with the fact that he's a vampire, she's a human, how to live in each other's world, I suppose. So it's It's not the most original story, but I liked the love story element between a girl who's sort of in a shady business, shady industry, against a literal shady character, being a vampire. So, To Sleep with a Vampire. Okay, number 10, 9, 8, 7. We have a film from 2005. It's a Canadian film called Lie With Me. And this is a film directed by Clement Virgo and stars Eric Balfour. Let me see. It's Lauren Lee Smith, Eric Balfour. There's also I believe it's Polly Walker, another Canadian actress. Sorry, Polly Shannon. And this is sort of girl meets boy, boy has a girlfriend, and they get into a very, not a very explicit, but very like intensely sexual relationship. But he has a girlfriend, and she is aware of them fooling around and says like, this guy has a thing, he has a past, and I don't think you're prepared to deal with it. And it's sort of like something about his character or whatever. And I'll leave that for if you end up finding and watching the movie, what she has to deal with when she takes on this intense relationship with him. And it's a well shot, well acted, independent movie, as a lot of Canadian films are becoming. They've always been well acted, well shot, but their production values, like most things, as cameras and film equipment gets better and better. But the Canadian film industry is getting a lot better than it used to be. Anyway, that is Lie With Me. Number 6, we have a film from 1993 called Acting on Impulse. Another one starring C. Thomas Howell. Yeah, he did a lot of thriller type movies in the 90s and stuff. Comedies in the 80s, thrillers in the 90s. And now he does. Well, now you watch things and you recognize, like Walking Dead. It's like, holy shit, there's C. Thomas Howell, and Spider-Man, and it's great to see them get recognition, continuing recognition after all these years. Anyway, so this one stars C. Thomas Howell, Linda Ferrantino, and Nancy Allen. And this is, you get Linda Ferrantino is, I think she's an erotic film star, and she decides to take a break from all that and hide out. And then while she's hiding out, someone is stalking her and framing her for murders, killing, something like that. And she ends up getting involved with C. Thomas Howell's character, and he's just a regular guy. She's a famous actress, and she drags him into her mess, and it's just sort of like the dynamic between the two of them as they deal with a stalker and murders happening all around them. It was directed by Sam, but yeah, basically Nancy Allen from RoboCop, C. Thomas Howell, and Linda Ferrantino are the most recognizable people in that film. All right, number 4. Hang on. Number 4, we have a film. Sorry, it didn't save my. Film from 1994. The last one on this list starring C. Thomas Howell. It says it's known as, it was a TV movie, and it says commonly known as Natural Selection. When I taped it off TV back in the 90s, it was called Dark Reflection. And this one stars C. Thomas Howell, primarily C. Thomas Howell and Lisa Zane. Lisa Zane you recognize from Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. Let me see, some other stuff, but primarily what sticks out in my mind was this movie and Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. And this one basically There were some experiments or like cloning or whatever happened years ago, and they ended up producing all of these, like this triplets or quintuplets or sextuplets, something like that. And they all grew up to look like C. Thomas Howell. They don't know about each other, they're living all over the place. Well, of course, one of them grows up to be evil who wants to be the only one. So he's going around basically killing all his other, all his twins or clones or like that. And you see some of that very briefly, but it mainly focuses on the present character, Ben Braden, played by C. Thomas Howell. And then when he meets Alex, the guy who looks just like him, also played by C. Thomas Howell. And he sort of starts to get involved in his life, but also learning and copying what he does, because he plans to take over, murder him, and assume his life, assume control of his life. And that's the plot in a nutshell. But I thought it was really cool, especially C. Thomas Howell playing the good, idyllic family man, and this psychopathic, like identity thief slash killer. So I really enjoyed it. I wish I hadn't taped over it, and I wish I could find it somewhere. Dark Reflection or Natural Selection. Number 3, we have a film from 1994, excuse me, directed by Doug McHenry, called Jason's Lyric. I saw this one back in the 90s when it came out on VHS. And this one stars Alan Payne, who I think he was one of the stars of that Tyler Perry produced show House of Pain. I had seen him on Fresh Prince of Bel Air, but he was the star of this movie, along with Jada Pinkett Smith, and Bokeem Woodbine, and Trek, guy from Naughty by Nature, and Eddie Griffin in a smaller role. And it's basically Alan Payne. He has a brother who has a troublemaker brother who's in prison. That's Bokeem Woodbine. He gets out of prison and starts up his old trouble and crap again. And at the same time, Jason, played by Alan Payne, Bokeem Woodbine's character is... His name is Joshua. All right. And Alan Payne plays Jason. Jada Pinkett plays Lyric. And so Jason's Lyric. So he gets involved with Lyric, and they form a relationship, but Josh is also jealous of what Jason has, and Josh is also back in the criminal element. So it's not a love triangle, but it's sort of like a family love triangle. It's sort of like a love triangle, because it's a love for his brother and the love for his girlfriend, and things get in the way, like Josh is being selfish and stuff like that. Ultimately, it may or may not lead to Lyric getting caught in the crossfire. So, but it's also got a very, very good song that plays at the end of the movie that they made a music video for, and it's called "You Will Know," and it's the band is credited as Black Men United, and it's literally almost every sentence of the song is sung by another famous black singer or band. It's like Boyz II Men. Let me see if it says. Brian McKnight. Trying to think. But anyway, like a lot of the famous black hip hop or singers from the '90s would be on this one, because it's almost every single lyric is sung by a different artist. Anyway, so that was number 3. That's Jason's Lyric. Just look up the video on YouTube. You Will Know, Black Men United. And it's got clips from them singing in the studio, and I think it has clips from the film too. It's a very good song. All right, number 2, we have a film from 2015 called Love. This is a French film. Actually, it is not a French film. It's made by a French director, Gaspar Noé, who did. We saw a film called Climax. He did. Am I blanking on this now? See, this is why most people make scripts. He did Irreversible. He did Out of the Void. A film called Climax. That kind of stuff. Well, this film is primarily known for the fact that the majority of the sex in the film, sort of like 9 Songs, is unsimulated. They actually have sex in it. And most of them are not actual actors. One of them, the main guy, Carl, I think it's what to say his name, Carl Guzman or something? Excuse me. Was already an actor when he got cast in this film. This is sort of like a love triangle. But it jumps around a lot between a guy and his girlfriend, who he gets pregnant. They have a baby. And there's also another girl who gets involved. And the story jumps around with him being with either girl or both girls at the same time. I mean, as in like a relationship or conversation, stuff like that. And it doesn't go in chronological order, but I think it tells it very well. I think the guy and the girls in the movie do good jobs for not having much acting experience, or any acting experience, or at least film acting experience for the actress's part. So, putting aside like the unsimulated sex part of the movie, it was a good relationship drama. And let me see. All right, and number 2. Hang on. Number 2, we have a film from 2012 called Bel Ami. And this one it says it's directed by Declan Donnellan and Nick Ormerod. I don't know who those guys are, but this has a pretty impressive cast, and it's primarily it stars Robert Pattinson, but it also has Uma Thurman, Kristen Scott Thomas, Christina Ricci, Cole Meany, and those are the high points of it. And essentially, it's Robert Pattinson playing Georges Duroy, and he's sort of like a broke former soldier who ends up hooking up with an old friend of his who has a beautiful house. But it's also where he moves in with his friend who has a beautiful house, and through him he meets all these beautiful women, and through all these various connections to how he rises up through the ranks in the movie, whether by like his smarts or wiles or seducing these women. But it is a lot to do with him sort of like not sleeping his way to the top, but seducing his way through all these women to advance his career, advances his station in life. And I already knew Robert Pattinson was a great actor when I saw this, because I liked him in the Twilight movies, but, and I've said this before, you want to see Robert Pattinson at the top of his game, watch a film called The Rover, Australian film he did with Guy Pearce. Outstanding. But this one is very not nearly as known. I only heard about this film because my friend Dalton, because he's just a massive Robert Pattinson fan. He recommended this film to me. I checked it out and I really liked it. Bel Ami. All right. Number one is probably the most well-known film on this list, but I don't hear it talked about a lot. It is from 2000 and it's called Quills. And it's probably one of 2 movies that came out around the same time that dealt with the Marquis de Sade. And the other one was a French film called de Sade, and this one is called Quills. And that one's in French, this one's in English, and this one stars Jeffrey Rush, Kate Winslet, and Joaquin Phoenix, primarily. And this one deals with Kate Winslet being, I think she's a scullery maid or something. She is. She works at an asylum where the Marquis de Sade, played by Jeffrey Rush, is being held, and he has this conversation going with her, and he keeps smuggling out his erotica, his erotic fiction and stuff like that through her, whether it's on paper or pieces of clothing or whatever. He just keeps getting it out there somehow. And Joaquin Phoenix plays the priest who's trying to convert him, get him to confess his sins or whatever. And he's just in way over his head when dealing with the Marquis de Sade. And it's sort of the dynamic between the three of them together. And this one stands out to me as, not just because they all did a great job acting, but one of the most informative director's commentaries I've ever listened to. If you get the DVD, listen to the director's commentary. It is so well done and so informative that you'll just, if you don't love the movie already, you will by the time you finish listening to the commentary. All right, short and sweet. That is the end of this list, and I have working on a few to come up next, and maybe sooner than you think. All right, toodles.